And now back to your regular programming.
If you speak better to yourself.
You showed up for probably the dumbest conversation we've ever had on this show.
Let's have that smile again.
Tell me how that happens. Physically should not happen.
Relax.
If you say
Give me as well.
3 times a day, God will line it up.
He's just an absolute hack, and he gets his ass kicked by the teammates every week. It's just terrible.
Welcome back to Hack City. Joe DeLeone and Sean Anderson, 2 former college football players from the University of Rhode Island. Today, we are going to be recapping the action from FCS Week 8. Marker game lived up to the hype in a weird way. Very weird way. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. A lot of chaos coming out of that game. Before we do and we recap this week, Sean, can you share with our listeners a quick,
There we go.
Quick word from Bet Online. We landed the plane, but we almost crashed.
As what I would call myself, the hot boy. Oh, let's see if that sticks. The hot boy was on fire this weekend at Bet Online. I was up like $120, $140 at the end of Sunday. From where I started. Bet Online is where I was doing it, the world's most trusted betting platform, and your number one source for everything sports betting. Every stat, matchup, breakdown, even live odds and spreads to bet on during games, with the largest catalog of odds on everything from football, MLB playoffs, NHL, NBA, political props. When the game's over, you can head on over to the online casino. You can play a game of blackjack. You can play a game of poker. If my luck wasn't so hideous all the time, if I have another hot Saturday or Sunday, I'll head on over there and play one of the 150 slots games. Head to the website today to get in on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. Bet Online, the game starts here.
Could you just lower the phones a bit when you got a second there? Let's get to the water cooler, Sean. I don't know why it always ends up louder. I know that you're not changing anything, but I don't know if it's
what is going on, grandma ears?
Something. If anything, it would be the opposite because my ears are.
I don't know.
They're young and spry. If anything, old people, I'd be telling you to turn it up every single time we do it. Have you been cranking it when I've been telling you to turn it down?
Don't worry about my cranking. Okay. God, crank watcher. Regardless, I'm not cranking it up. I'll just order an independent headphone knob, and I can do that, and you can have yours at low level, and I can have mine cranked to 11.
I wonder if maybe, never mind. Let's talk about, I was going to say, I wonder if maybe there's a separate, but there's a splitter, so that doesn't even make any sense. Water cooler. Time to talk about the crazy scores of this week. Maine, 35. Villanova, 7. Here we go again. The CAA doing crazy shit. Villanova only has 35 rushing yards. Connor Watkins has a bad game, 2 interceptions. I'm not suddenly buying into the Maine hype, but this does smell a lot like the chaotic conference that we know that is the CAA.
Yeah, really don't like Maine catching fire before we go see Rhodey at Homecoming. Again, check us out at Homecoming. Say hi if you're a Rhode Island listener. Maybe you'll get some nice
Do those exist?
Gansett prizes. Hint, hint. Regardless.
I already announced that.
I know, but not all of it.
Okay.
But Maine did what Villanova's been dying to do. Villanova's been dying to give one up in the CAA. It just so happened they played better defense, and Villanova just couldn't get it going offensively. Shocking. Yeah, I've dropped them big time because I respected the wins and they kept winning. But until they lost, then it becomes, all right, time to really drop you because you've been waiting for it and you haven't really taken that next step to prevent it. Maine is just competent enough to provide the big upset that everyone was looking for.
I dropped them pretty heavily as well. Something fell off kind of coming into this week, and this is the big letdown that Villanova was eventually going to give us, apparently. URI 26, UNH 9. This game had, the makings of an old 1912 battle between 2 squads in the Northeast where football was born. 3-2 at half. Everybody was having a field day with that one. And, of course, our Rhodey Rams, they pull out with their first win at UNH since 1995. Big win for Rhodey. They're undefeated in FCS play. I moved them up a little bit. I'm slowly starting to climb them up more and more. I don't want to show too much bias in my ballot, but big win for Rhode Island, who currently seem like they've got a pretty strong hold of that lead in the CAA.
Yeah, Rhodey can throw the ball. They can run the rock, and their defense bends. It doesn't break. UNH has been on Fraud Watch all season. Everyone was so eager to rank UNH. I think I may have had them on like the 24 spot at one point in week 1, maybe week 2. But since then, they've been off. Didn't believe in this UNH team. Rhode Island, it was a slight bump. I saw somebody put them in the top 10, not on the stats perform, but in their personal. It might have been like one of the Heartland polls. They put them at like 9 or 10, which is a bit aggressive for Rhodey. I think. That,
Rhodey. I thought you were saying UNH.
No. Rhode Island, I saw them getting a big bump, taking the lead in the CAA. But yeah, not as much for me. Maybe a couple more big, defining, dominant wins, and we get there. But right now, comfortable with them just beating the CAA teams that they should beat.
Yeah, a win that they would have dropped in the past. Signs of maturity for this Rhodey Rams squad.
A win that we would have dropped and did drop many times.
Many a times. Plenty of times where tables were thrown and water jugs were tossed and Migos concerts were brought up in the locker room.
I forgot about
that. Was one of the all-time locker room crash outs. We got guys at Migos on Friday.
Oh my God.
Was it Friday before the game that happened?
I think it was like a Thursday.
No, it was a Thursday.
It was a Thursday.
That's what it was.
I didn't go to that one. It was apparently
it was
Migos.
Yeah, good thing you didn't because you weren't supposed to be going to a concert the Thursday before a big game.
Did I go to that? I don't think I did.
You better not have.
No, I
lose a lot of respect for you if I find out you went to that concert. You know what I was doing? I was sleeping. Getting ready for walkthrough in the morning. Like a good teammate.
I don't think I did. I think
it was Dwayne who said that, right?
I think
Dwayne was right.
Dwayne was right. I think Jose chimed in about Migos. Yeah.
And somebody defended the guys who went to Migos too.
Yeah. Well, why don't bring him to the concert? Yeah, okay. No, I went to a Lil Wayne show at Rhode Island, and that was during spring ball, and I couldn't hear my offensive line coach in the meeting because my ears were still ringing, and that was a problem. I said no more concerts if we got practice.
Okay, I'm trying to see if there's any concerts at Rhodey this weekend. In order to find out if there's going to be a letdown. Hold really quickly. Just bear with me, folks. We're going to move on. Okay, it doesn't look like there is. Impractical Jokers is coming on November 2nd. If that's the letdown,
oh gosh,
then we're screwed.
Yeah, I don't think that would take the boys out of it. They would just get a nice, they just, be upright, laughing heartily at those jokesters.
No, they get too drunk. I'm not just kidding. Obviously, they're not going to do that. This team is great this year, and we're excited to see them in person. Sanford 55, Mercer 35. What the F? This was the best defense in the country. Now, I had a listener who was messaging me, who's a Rufino and Joe show listener, but he also tunes into this show, and he was messaging me like, oh, why the heck can't we just win and be normal? Apparently, there were a lot of turnovers factored into this. What the hell? What 55 though to even give up the amount of turnovers that they did? 55 points after the showing that they put out there. Sanford's, where was this? This is the 2016 Sanford team with Duck Hodges out there, apparently.
Very frustrating for the FCS as the Hack City kiss of death came from Mercer, as we talked about them with high praise twice last week, noting that their defense is outside of the Ivies and their shortened season, what the best in the FCS, and how good they are turning people over, and how little points that they give up, and how little yardage they give up. Now, they still had 3 picks on Quincy Critterton for Sanford, but he threw for 378 yards.
Goofy ass name.
And 4 touchdowns. I always struggle with it. It's a tough one for me. I'm glad I got through it. But Mercer, could you be normal? Could the FCS please try to be normal? I mean, I was just watching college football, scanning the scores. I see Maine's up 28-0 at half, and I see Mercer's already given up 40 points. What a mess that was in that early window. Get it together. We're not trying to jinx you, but it doesn't make us feel good when we start praising you, and then you go out and let up 55 points to a middling Samford team. Not a Samford team that is looking to make much noise this year. God.
Mercer got to get it together. Richmond 28, Delaware 9. Delaware on the move up, so they haven't really been in the scope of our conversations. Somebody did comment on our last video. Delaware mentioned ! Which I thought was pretty funny. You guys are dead to us, though, because you have moved on and you're too good for the FCS. You'll be back. Y'all just wait. You're going to be back very soon. You'll see.
I think that was Joe Flacco's elite.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Richmond, though, big win. Strong schedule that they're building. Quietly, very good season in the CAA. Just stacking wins here with another good performance against a quality Delaware squad.
Yeah, this is a Delaware squad that, as I've been tracking them, I mean, they do have impact players. Marcus Yarns has been great. He was not great in this game, 7 carries for 31 yards. The offense for Delaware, which had been a pretty solid one, they could air it out, a lot of yards, a lot of touchdowns, wasn't there. And Richmond has kind of been sleepy this year. I haven't been super high on them, but they have 2 running backs over 65 yards. Camden Coleman has a decent game, 194 and 2. Yeah, they got it done. Very shocked at this. Delaware, I thought, was like on that Missouri State trajectory where they were just going to keep on beating teams and we were going to let them win in silence. No. You lost. And until you come back in 3 years, we're going to point out that you lose this year. And when you come back, I'll have a nice chat about it. But I guess good for Richmond. That's a statement win. That's a big win. Delaware is a good team. And if they were not moving up, they would have been a highly ranked team throughout this season.
You're going to need a bigger Kleenex to rally that spider if you're going to want to squish it. Davis, 48-38. The boys beat EWU. Big win. A lot of points. UC Davis starting to show some offensive potency here, outlasting Eastern Washington, which seemed like a pretty exciting game that really wasn't in. We were debating previewing this, but we decided to focus mainly on the marker game, which talk about old school football, the way that thing played out. But great win here for UC Davis to just round out their resume that they've got this season.
Yeah, UC Davis has become, not trying to jinx you, heads up, but you're becoming my darling, UC Davis. I love your offense.
They're going to lose 150 to -3.
I bumped them up to 4 this week. They are awesome.
Who did you bump out of the 4? Who's my 4 team?
I think South Dakota at 4. UC Davis's offense is just like that.
They gave up 38 points. Why is
Miles Hastings is a legitimate Walter Payton favorite, not just nominee, favorite. He goes off every week and he had another casual 300-yard, 4-touchdown game. EWU might have the best offense for a 2-5 team that we've seen, and we've said this about EWU before. Their defense isn't great, though, and you know what UC Davis should have done? They should have picked them apart, and they did. Lan Larison is the best dual-threat player in the FCS. Over 250 scrimmage yards, and he does this week in, week out. There's some phenomenal FCS running backs this year. Just great. Putting up big numbers, helping their teams win. But Larison does it not only in the run, but in the passing game. It's always 20 carries, 9 receptions, and it's always big numbers. I know guys run for 230 yards on different teams, but they're not impacting the receiving end also. They just have it going on offense, and if the wheels fall off, they fall off. But right now, this is maybe the hottest offense in the FCS.
Sac State outlast Weber State overtime 51-45. A lot of overtime games. The Big Sky playing kind of like the Big 12 with all this scoring that we're seeing, this late night scoring that's just out of the national perspective sometimes. I still don't know what to do with Sac State, man. I guess this is good. I guess this is a good win. Sure, maybe. Okay.
Who knows?
I
didn't put him back on. I tell you this. Fine, you beat Weber. Weber kind of stinks, but Weber is kind of good. Let's see if they can string them together.
They stink and are both kind of good.
Yeah. And Sac State, there's some more expectation there, but they were doing some good things. Elijah Tauts-Oliver, he did a great Lan Larison impression, 225 scrimmage yards. I'm sure that contributed a lot. And Carson Conklin threw his ass off in this game, 357 yards and 3 touchdowns in this one. Yeah, it's a big overtime thriller. It's Big Sky after dark, where we're just not playing defense and we're going to let whatever happens happen. But if you're on the top 25, I need to know what you're going to do. And I don't know what Sac State is going to do. Maybe they can just win big-time overtime games against mid-tier Big Sky teams, but that's not good enough for a top 25 for me.
All right, let's talk about the most important game that everyone's here to listen to us discuss. North Dakota State 13, South Dakota State 9. My prediction holds. North Dakota State was able to hold off, win this game at home. The venue was certainly important. Looked like the Fargo Dome was rocking. The only way that I could describe this game, Sean, and I know that there was a lot going on in FBS, but I was trying to keep track of this and watch it as much as possible. Screw YouTube TV for not putting it in the quad box with the Georgia-Texas game. That was a crime. The quad box continues to suck, so I was keeping up with it as much as I could, and then I certainly went back to double check on anything that I missed. This game could only be described as two individuals hitting each other in the head with a brick individually over and over again. One guy had a brick, he'd hit the guy in the head with the brick, and then the other guy would come back with the brick and hit the other guy in the head with the brick. That was what this game was like, and what it was like watching it, because it was, hey, we're going to throw the ball to the flat. We're going to connect with one of our receivers. We're going to run the ball. No more than 2 yards. There's a sustained drive. This drive's moving. They're actually moving down the middle. Nope. Tackled short. Punt. This game, I was texting with Ryan Roberts, who does college football and NFL draft at A-to-Z Sports, and his content shows up on. He's been on the show a number of times. He described it a little bit of a hater shade, and I think the people who watch this game might agree. It's kind of a boring game, but it was a great defensive battle. If you appreciate good football, you're not getting the big sky matches, man. If you are a Missouri Valley Football Conference appreciator, you loved this football game because it was defense, defense, defense. It took a couple of splash plays on either side, and then that long touchdown scoring drive, connection in the end zone that was able to put North Dakota State over the top. It literally came down to who had the ball with the most amount of time remaining and had that final drive. That's what it was. But this truly was a grind you out type of a football game.
It was a slugfest in every meaning of the word. Just craziness. Maybe there's 6 interior defensive linemen for both of these teams that are going to go in the first round, because at times it looked like it with the push they would get on big time third downs and big stops. It was just a fantastic example of this rivalry that we've been able to see over the years. And they're not always going to be 30 to 39 or 31 games. It's just not going to happen. I mean, South Dakota State, who has consistently put up over 300 yards in the ground, had 333 total yards in this game. NDSU, 275 total yards. It was just who wanted it more for the first three and three-quarter quarters. Let's do some simple verbal math there. It was a last possession game. And you have to give all the credit in the world to Cam Miller for balling the hell out on his last possession. I think he went 7 for 7, marched them down the field, and really made a name for himself in a big-time rivalry game. That's a huge game for him. When it's not all working on offense and you have to find a way to do it at the end, he found a way to do it. And we said last week it was going to come down to Gronowski versus Miller. Miller, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Gronowski, 1 pick. They both threw for middling yardage, and Cam Miller had a bit of a better completion percentage. But for the most part, it was just the interception and Cam Miller being able to throw the touchdowns and be able to move the ball. I mean, it was just madness. It was just a crazy game. You can't really fully describe this to someone that doesn't have much of a file on South Dakota State versus North Dakota State, because the playbooks go out the window as soon as they kick off. Or whatever the strategy is, we're just going to hit each other. We are going to hit each other.
That's exactly what it was.
Like madmen from the mountains, and which they are. That's what they are. They grow up. They're like stalks of corn, and then when they turn 18, they either go to the golden green or the yellow and blue. And all right, stalk of corn. You're over here, and you're going to hit that stalk of corn. It was incredible.
Yeah, it was incredible. It was absolutely incredible, and it kind of made me. The situation kind of reminds me of what happened in 2021, where both these teams were really good. South Dakota State got the win in the regular season, and then in the national championship game when they faced off with one another. Or no, sorry, they didn't face off with one another. I'm mixing this up. I'm mixing up my years. I'm trying to do math here and check this. Ignore me for a quick second what I just said there in the history of this game. The main takeaway of this, Sean, though, is that there is going to be another matchup between these two teams at some point, it feels like. I hope it's in either. I hope we're gifted it in the playoff. Like, I hope that we get the opportunity to watch these two squads play one another again. If it's in the quarterfinal, because Montana State ends up being the 2 seed, or if it's in the national championship game. These are the 2 best teams in FCS football. I think Montana State, as we said on the preview last week, it's 1A, 1B, 1C. They are all really freaking good. being at home helped just by a hair. Get that with the rabbit joke unintentionally. I'm on fire today.
You're on fire.
Just by a hair. And I would argue that a lot of times when you've got evenly matched teams, that you can't beat a good team twice, that South Dakota State could get back in the second matchup. I got to bring up, though, and I tweeted this out, and I got some pretty good run, the ridiculousness of the fight that broke out after a long touchdown run and doing the bring the boom dance, and then the fight that ensued immediately after right next to it. It had to have been the most barnyard-ass series of events that I've seen in a football game. And it's a big reason why I love FCS football. It's because I feel like we don't take ourselves overtly seriously, and we appreciate the craziness of the sport. You're playing this slugfest of a game. You've got a fight breaking out, and then you've got the stupidest celebration in college football that's emoting. Breaking out. Yeah, it's like watching a Fortnite character do his dance in the end zone.
Yeah, it was interesting to see South Dakota State break out their Cole Payton, which Chase Mason apparently is. Good touchdown run. It was a good run. It was solid. Awful emote. I don't like that. Yeah,
it's a bad dance. It's a really stupid, bad dance.
I think it's done in the vein that it's a bad, stupid dance, which I kind of appreciate. And continuing to do the dance while it's a 10v10 brawl at the pylon. It gets heated in the game. I liked it. I like seeing the energy. It matters. It matters to both of these teams. At the moment, Chase Mason, I think, was just happy to find Vader, though. What the hell, man? I know you just scored and maybe you're valuable, but get in there. Separate it. It's the marker game. Boss up. Get over it.
Yeah. That celebration, man. Like it's so ridiculous because like you're like, it's like watching a bar fight and somebody knocks somebody out and then they start doing the Fortnite dance. Like that's what it looked like. And it's like, hey man, there's still a bar fight going on over here. I think you need to direct your attention to that instead of dancing like a 15-year-old in the back of the end zone. I'm not hating on him. It's just such a bad celebration. It's the stupidest, goofiest celebration.
Oh yeah. This was enough though. This game was enough to put NDSU at 1 for me this week on the polls.
They were already at number 1 for me.
Yeah.
It sucks to suck. Get with the times.
A victory over South Dakota State weighs more than a victory over Idaho at this point. I know Montana State fans have been, championing me for defending, thinking of them as the number 1 team. It's still a 1A, BC type situation, but if we're going resume here, that is a massive resume win for the Bison.
All right, fat stats closes out.
Let's get it cracking. Not as clinically obese of a week, but we still got some good performances to note. Monmouth running back Stone Ento, 8 carries, 26 yards, 4 touchdowns. If you have a comically low amount of yards, but you still score 4 touchdowns, I dig it. Stony Brook quarterback Tyler Knoop.
Man, a fullback?
You look him up and tell me if you want him only being a fullback. Stony Brook quarterback Tyler Knoop, 34 for 40, 387 yards, and 6 touchdowns.
235.
Yeah, he's thick. Lindenwood wide receiver. Lindenwood getting some love. Jeff Caldwell, 6 catches, 174 yards, 3 touchdowns.
Ooh, Lindenwood.
I got tagged in this next one a good amount. Western Carolina quarterback Cole Gonzalez.
That's the pick.
35 for 55, 620 yards, and 5 touchdowns. We'll just get to show some love on the next ones here. Illinois State quarterback Tommy Rittenhouse, 27 for 38, 347 yards, a touchdown, a pick. He carried the ball 9 times for another 128 yards and 2 picks. Told you Rittenhouse was a bit of a sleeper. San Diego wide receiver Jaseem Reed, 8 catches, 162, and 2 touchdowns. UC Davis running back Lan Larison carried the ball 29 times, 128 yards and a tud. He also caught the ball 5 times for 75 yards. EWU wide receiver Efton Chisholm III, 15 catches, 170 yards and a tud. Weber State running back Damon Bankston, 25 carries, 234, a touchdown, 18 yards receiving. Weber wide receiver Jacob Sharp, 9 catches, 119 yards, 3 touchdowns. It's bonkers in the big sky. Close it out. Sac State running back Elijah Tout Oliver, 19 carries, 141, 3 touchdowns, and he had 85 receiving yards on 11 receptions.
I'm going to get my pick in a second. We got Monday Night Football in the background while we're taping this. I am going with Cole Gonzalez. Well, you got Mike Evans, who's in the back of the end zone, might have just tore his hamstring. And they're so punched in on this guy, like zoomed in as possible, of him writhing in pain.
Dude.
Hey, how about we cut away Like I literally looked up. I'm like, what is going on this screen? He couldn't be in more visible pain. Why do you still have him on the screen?
I've seen extreme close-ups, and it's not even like they're doing a full shot of the body on the field. It's just right on the helmet. They're panning right in on the guy's face, trying to get as much pain that they can.
Yeah, it'll make a good social clip. That's all that ESPN cares about. All right, at Joe DeLeone, at Sanderson Radio, at Hack City Pod. Folks, thanks for tuning in. We're going to have the preview coming out later in the week. Ooh, man, we got to try and get that out before the train ride on Thursday. We could do it Friday morning. So to be determined, but we're certainly going to be previewing the Maine versus URI game because Sean and I are going to be there. We'll talk to you folks later. Enjoy the rest of your night.